The time was 9 p.m. Deborah sat on her hostel bed, dressed in her 90s. She could ignore the books on her laps, but not the hunger ravaging her stomach. She knew life could get hard, but she didn't think it would be this hard in school, especially during examination periods. Having spent all her money on printing and photocopying an impromptu assignment issued by one of the most dreaded lecturers, she left with just 100 naira in her black purse. When she called home to explain her situation, the response was the same as always: no money. She regretted using her last airtime on that call. In her room, there were 4 girls, but the 2 medical students had gone to night class, leaving her with Zainab, another broke student. Zainab, however, seemed unbothered. She always claimed she could sleep through hunger, and her demeanor made it clear that nothing fazed her. She sat down to think about who to ask for help. Many people came to mind, but she dismissed them for one reason or the other. She refused to let hunger push her to embarrass herself or commit sin. It wasn't worth it. Scrolling through Facebook Messenger, she noticed that Jeremiah was online. Jerry, as she called him, was the head of the fellowship's editorial department and its current president. They had known each other since secondary school. Back then, he had asked her on a date and she had accepted. However, when he asked for sex, she ended the relationship. Even in her teenage years, she had upheld a no-sex principle, not necessarily for spiritual reasons, but as a matter of conviction. Now, Jerry was born again, and it was evident to everyone that he wasn't the same person he used to be. He was on fire for God, leading intercessory prayers like revival session. He was that brother in church that everybody loved and every girl dreamt to be with. She decided to message him. They got talking, and as the conversation progressed, he asked if she had eaten. Embarrassed but desperate, she admitted she hadn't. Jerry explained that he didn't have money in his account to send her, but offered her food if she could come over. He lived off campus, and while she knew his house, going there at such a late hour meant she would have to spend the night at his place. She hesitated, remembering former fellowship president's warning about visiting papas at night. The implication was clear, and everybody could understand it. Still, she convinced herself that Jerry wasn't like that. He was attractive and disciplined, even before becoming born again. When he asked if she was still coming, she decided to go. Hunger outweighed her fears. When she arrived, Jerry welcomed her with a handshake instead of a hug. His apartment was spotless, more organized than she had expected. He offered her a biscuit before heading to the kitchen to cook, insisting that he would prepare the meal despite her offers to help. As the food cooked, they talked. For the first time in a long while, she felt heard. Jerry listened attentively as she shared her struggles. He knew her family and their challenges, so he could empathize with her. His words of encouragement from scripture brought her a sense of peace, momentarily easing her hunger. When the beans was ready, she ate cautiously. Jerry didn't join her, explaining that he was fasting. His refusal to eat briefly made her anxious, because there are stories flying around about young girls who got kidnapped or raped as a result of things like this. But she eventually dismissed her fears and ate enough to quiet her hunger. By the time she checked the clock, it was past 10 p.m. and the hostel gates were locked. When she asked if she could stay, Jerry assured her it was fine. He offered her the mattress while he sat by the table reading. Before she went to bed, Jerry suggested they pray together. Holding her hands, he prayed for her family and even shared words of knowledge and prophecies that left her comforted. She eventually fell asleep after a long minute of thinking, while he continued his work. When she woke up at 5:35 a.m., Jerry was gone. On the table, she found a note. "Good morning, sis. I'm off to class already at our Kaliatu campus. I didn't want to disturb your sleep. There's food in the kitchen and I kept 1,000 naira for you under my Bible. Please manage. Make yourself comfortable. Lock the door afterwards and bring my key to Bible study this evening." She smiled and pressed the note to her chest. She couldn't imagine that Jerry could change this much. Could it be true that Jesus could change the life of people this much? Well, nothing prepared her for what she will experience as she had a bath. There was a knock on the bathroom door. She was so terrified. Her mind ran back to if she locked the door or not. Her head was already foggy. She could not recall. The knock came again, this time harder. She could feel her heart beat. "Who's there?" she asked. The next response was the door breaking open on her with a towel wrapped around her waist and ladder all over her body. What she saw terrified her the most. Two masked men, bare-chested, looked at her lustfully, like they would jump on her at the tiniest second. She wished the ground would open and swallow her. Her mind went back to Jerry. Did he send them? Was this a revenge plan for what she did in the past? Did she just fall into a well-dug grave? "Come out your towel," the one with a husky voice said, and as he moved towards her, someone hit her head with a pestle from behind, and he dropped on the floor bleeding. The second guy tried to escape, but he got his own share of the pestle and fell flat on the floor. The man who saved her was also masked. He stretched his hands towards her and pulled her out of the bathroom. As she got out, he unveiled his face, and to her greatest surprise, it was Jeremiah. She wanted to hug him, but she held his hands instead. Her eyes were already teary. He wiped her eyes with his palm and said, "I have helped you. It's your turn now."